Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Cancer Support Community Central Ohio's Natural Living Workshop, which is provided to us through Lily Kunning and her connection with Haven Herbs. And we're very greatly appreciative of Lily, the community herbalist, giving this education session. Today, she's going to be talking about herbs for cancer, chemo, and radiation recovery. So welcome, Lily.
Hi. So just to make sure that I stay with you the whole time, I'm going to turn my video off now because I'll have a presentation, and that way you'll definitely be able to hear my audio. So I've disappeared now. All right. So yeah, I am making it a program to go ahead and make my presentations prettier from now on. I was using just like PowerPoint before, and it's not nearly as pretty. So now I'm like making everything much more nice to look at. Can you hear me, Darlene? Because I can see you, Darlene. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Let's go back. Back. Are you?
You want me to go back one?
Darlene?
Yeah, I can hear you. I had to unmute myself.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, sorry, I had to unmute myself.
That's okay. Great. All right, so we're on the first slide. That's great. All right, I'm ready to go. So this presentation is all about a holistic recovery from cancer, chemotherapy, and radiation, because we all know that sometimes the treatment for cancer is also very taxing and hard for the body to recover from. And so we're going to talk about herbs, and we're also going to talk about diet and pharmaceuticals and lifestyle changes, mind-body connection, nutraceuticals, which is all about like constituents in food and herbs and how they can benefit you, movement and some detoxification, not of your body, but of your environment, in order for you to quickly and effectively recover from cancer and its treatments. Next slide. So there I am. You can see me now. So I just wanted to give you a quick introduction to me. So I'm a community herbalist, meaning that I care for both individuals clinically and the community at large with my projects and work, including these classes that I teach at Cancer Support Community. My training was in clinical herbalism, and I also, teach classes, and I am the formulator for Haven Herbs, which is, paying for my time today. So the websites are there on the side there. All right, next slide. So today we're going to start with nutrition. We're going to go into movement and connectedness, and that is a very broad term, and I'll get to that in a second. Detoxification, and then finally supplementation, including some herbs. Let's move on. All right, so I start with nutrition, just like I start with the digestive system with my herb students when we're studying physiology, because the digestive system is the first thing to be created when a new organism is created. And it is interconnected to every other system in your body. And what we eat, what we bring in, actually is the fodder to create new cells in our body, right? So the purpose of eating well is to rebuild healthy cells that have died. You need to replace them. To strengthen existing cells that are weak and maybe don't have enough nutrients to do their jobs. To give comfort and pleasure, and I'm not discounting that ever, right? Being ill definitely means taking time to give yourself comfort and pleasure. And sometimes that means mashed potatoes and gravy or chocolate cake, and that is totally fine. And also to connect us to other people and our culture. Food is so important to give us those deep roots and connections, and to sustain your functioning, right? Like if you don't get enough calories or enough nutrients, like your body isn't going to do well. And I put here a picture of what is called the Mediterranean food pyramid. I would say that our government isn't all that great at making recommendations around healthcare issues, and that's a whole other ball of wax. But this food pyramid is one that is nutritionally sound. It's not one that comes from the US government. And if you look, it not only has food on here, but other things too, like daily physical activity. Um, and you can have olive oil, nuts, beans, legumes, pulses, herbs and spices in every meal. And the base of what you should be eating, the biggest part of that food pyramid, fruits, vegetables, and grain. And they need to be whole grains, not processed like white bread or pasta, but like whole grains. And then as we go up the food pyramid, you see fish and seafood being layered on top of that, and then poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt. Isn't that interesting that they put poultry and eggs in with dairy products, specific dairy products, not milk, not ice cream, but like cheese and yogurt all together. And if you look, it goes from daily fruits, vegetables, and grains to often at least 2 times per week for fish and seafood. And then as you go up the pyramid and the spaces are smaller, we're going to say moderate portions daily to weekly, right? So like alternating poultry, eggs, cheese, and yogurt each day, but not, eating all of them, right? You're alternating them. And then at the very top, you see red meats along with sweets. Now, this is a very different food pyramid from what, I grew up with, the 4 food groups, or even the food pyramid of today. You can also see that they're telling you to drink water every day and to have wine in moderation. And who doesn't love that, right? So this is a really great baseline. And if you ever need any more nutritional guidance, like I'm happy to answer questions or provide scientifically based links to folks for nutrition. Next. Next thing that we need to focus on is movement for everybody. Now, recovering from an illness like cancer can definitely knock the wind out of you and take away a lot of your energy. And the key here is to find an appropriate movement for where you're at. Everybody can do a little, right? And honestly, the amount of movement to maintain a healthy body is really only like a 30-minute brisk walk every day. So think about, as you're recovering, like that's the baseline. So if you need to go under that because you're extremely fatigued from the recovery, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. No matter where you are in your journey, you can find appropriate movement to keep you healthy. And there's so many reasons that moderate exercise is important. You don't want your metabolism to slow too much. Your bone density as you get older already decreases, but definitely without movement, that impact of just walking actually creates motivation in your bones to create new bone cells. Without that regular movement, your body stops making them, and then your bone density, you're not replacing them as quickly as you're losing them. Your cardiovascular system erodes when you don't get regular exercise, and depression starts happening. And depression and anxiety are definitely part and parcel of dealing with a chronic illness and dealing with something that is life-threatening. So getting out there and making sure that you are having appropriate movement, one that doesn't overly tax you, but definitely challenges you, is super important to maintaining both mind and body. So yeah, moderate for you, but challenging, right? Like every so often, see if you can do a little more, right? Because that's how we make improvements. That's how we gain more muscle mass. That's how we get more cardiovascularly fit. Getting outside in particular, whenever it's possible. I know it's hard in the winter. Luckily, we're not there yet, but eventually. Getting outside daily, seeing the sun and the trees and the birds actually relieves depression. There are independent studies that not only talk about sun and vitamin D, but the fact that you are surrounded by green things, or the fact that you hear songbirds, actually statistically relieves depression. The other thing that relieves depression is getting your hands in the dirt. So gardening is a fabulous activity, not only to get wonderful tomatoes that you can't get at the supermarket, but also all of those beneficial microbiome that are living in the soil get onto you. You are a colony of bacteria and yeast, and you need them and they need you. And when we deplete our microbiome through chemotherapy or radiation, because it kills bad cells as well as good, right? You need to replenish that. So getting out into the garden if you can, and digging your hands in the dirt can actually help replenish that microbiome just as much as taking probiotics or eating fermented foods. Also doing, combining this movement and making sure you're getting it with doing things that you love and bring you joy, that is going to elevate your mood, which in turn helps you heal faster. The mind and the body are connected. And so making sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who support you, that you have activities that bring you joy, it's going to help you get better faster. It gives you better coping skills if you are moving. It gives you better physical well-being. And if you combine it with mindfulness activities, which we will get to, it's a win-win. So things like Tai Chi or Qigong. Let's move on to the next one. Yes. So mind-body connection. So I briefly alluded to it in the last slide. So, and I also talked about how important your gut is. So in your digestive tract, you have connections to your immune system, to your endocrine system, to your nervous system, and together your endocrine system and your nervous system regulate your whole body. So there is a connection between your gut and your brain. And when you have a balanced microbiome, all those good probiotics, you actually are less likely to be depressed or anxious. And when you do meditation or mindfulness activities, you actually strengthen that mind-body connection, and you're going to do better at digesting food. It's not just one way. It's not from the gut to the brain. It's also from the brain to the gut. And so you're going to digest food better. You're going to have better nervous and endocrine system response and better immune response, because 75 to 90% of your immune system is in the gut, right? So journaling every day, that's something almost everyone can do. Just get out with a pen and get a blank book and start writing things down. And one thing I have found about journaling is that I save all my journals and I go back to them and I was like, oh, yep, okay, that's a pattern of mine. And then I'm able to actually fix things that maybe are not that great, or going back and remembering something amazing, right? I keep my journals, and I have journals from the year that my child was born, right? And so rereading those things and what I've been through has made me stronger, I think. Music and art therapy. These are specific types of working out your feelings and your issues using music or art. And at the end of this thing, I'll see if Darlene can speak to some of the programming at Cancer Support Community, because I bet they have some good programming around this. Also, breathing exercises. Your breath actually regulates everything in your body. And if you can slow your breathing and do it more mindfully, first of all, slowing your breathing calms your central nervous system. So if you're an anxious person, learning how to control your breath and regulate your central nervous system using breathing, who needs drugs, right? You could just breathe. And you can, with your breath, you can actually, what was I going to say? I just lost my thought. Oh no. I know. when you're thinking about your breathing, when you're mindfully breathing, just like when you're mindfully eating or mindfully doing art, you are in the present moment, right? So being present is something that isn't always comfortable, right? Because in the present, we may have pain in our bodies. In the present, we may be worried about money. But here's the thing. Anxiety is constantly living in the future and dreading what's coming. And depression tends to be living in the past and making regrets of things that maybe we should have done or shouldn't do, or something that we said that we regret, like all of those things. But living in the present, there really only is now, right? Everything else is just in our heads. It's either a bad recording that we call memory, or it's projections that may or may not happen, and you're just worrying about things that haven't come to pass. But living in the present, you can do something about the present. You can make choices in the here and now that will affect your future and become your past. So mindfully breathing is such an important exercise. Likewise, prayer. I'm not sure what religion everyone is, but prayer is a mindfulness activity that helps you focus and be in the present. Shinrin yoku is a Japanese term that means forest bathing. And like I said, combining your mindfulness activity with getting outside is a win-win. So what Shinrin yoku is going out into nature where you can't hear other people or cars, maybe taking a very gentle hike somewhere where, or just sitting on a bench or a log and just taking it all in, bathing in the forest. And there are lots of studies in Japan about how this helps people with chronic illness, how this helps people recover from surgery, how this helps people who are anxious or depressed. So I highly recommend it. Getting outside definitely is the highlight of my day when I'm all messed up around anxiety around work or finances or anything. Just getting outside is super helpful. Yoga, Tai Chi, Qigong, these are all movement modalities that focus on being in the moment. And some of them have additional benefits, either physical benefits of flexibility, or like medical Qigong, you actually work with the Chinese meridians in your body and you benefit different organs and organ systems. I remember being in a Qigong class and watering my kidneys, like with specific motions, right? And it has a beneficial impact on your body. A sitting practice like the one shown here, this is how most Western people think of meditation, where you're sitting and you're trying not to think about anything, and it's really hard. It looks easy, but it is not easy because the thoughts come in. I am a huge fan of what's called Vipassana sitting practice. And what that is when the thoughts come, you literally say, oh, there's a thought, and then you push it away. It's not that you punish yourself or you're doing bad because you have a thought, because man, sometimes your brain just won't turn off, but you notice the thought. And eventually, as you're doing it, you can get up to like 20 minutes, 30 minutes sitting. Eventually, like the thoughts are less and less because you are focusing on your breathing and being present, and you are able to still your mind finally. It took me about, I don't know, 6 months of daily practice to like not be hard on myself and think that I had a crappy sitting practice, but it does help. You just got to put in the work. And then mindful eating, mindful food preparation. I find food to be just a wonderful anchor to the present, right? As you're chopping the vegetables mindfully, making it into the proper shape, as you're combining it in your skillet, and mindful eating as well. I'm not on camera. So, the key is to exacerbate your mind-body connection, doing it mindfully, being in the present. Next slide. Connectedness. So how are you connecting to other people and your situation, and who is on your team? everybody needs a team, especially if they're going through cancer recovery, right? So actually making a list, who is your support network and how do they support you? And I'm not just talking about medical professionals. I'm talking about the person that will, come over and cook you dinner, or the person that is just a great listener and can sit with you. Or it could be a professional as well, so your oncologist, if they listen really well, or different holistic practitioners like myself. There are a lot of different kinds of holistic practitioners, like herbalists like me, or an Ayurvedic doctor, or a doctor of Oriental medicine, which is not just an acupuncturist. An acupuncturist does one part of what is in the whole field of Oriental medicine. Oriental medicine also includes diet and herbs and moxibustion and tuina, and there's a bunch of other things, not just acupuncture. But also in the United States, most people go to an acupuncture school as opposed to an Oriental medicine school. So they learn a narrow set of skills, and I'll tell you, those skills are profound. I've had acupuncture, and if you are in pain or have inflammation, acupuncture is amazing. It's also really amazing for anxiety. There are lots of different protocols, and it depends on how someone learned, but acupuncture is great. I also get deep tissue massage because I have a problem with frozen fascia in my body. And so I get massage, and it really makes a profound difference. And for those of you that, are trying to get through recover from chemotherapy or radiation, lymphatic massage is such a boon, because your lymph sort of collects all of that treatment, and sometimes you can get lymphedema and stagnation in the lymph. And so getting all of that out of your lymphatic system is super helpful. So seeing a massage therapist that specializes in lymphatic massage, or learning how to do dry brushing. You can get like a little bristle brush, and YouTube has some fantastic videos about the direction in which you brush your body, and that helps the lymph to drain itself. And don't underestimate seeing a psychotherapist either. I put this last, but it's not least, because getting through an illness definitely will require your mind as well as your body. Go ahead. All right. So detoxification. Now, this term has been misused by diet culture, and that is not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is detoxifying from your treatment, because we know that that treatment is designed to kill cells, and we now need it to get out of our body. And also what you surround yourself with in your environment. The United States has products that are rife with all kinds of carcinogens and endocrine disrupting chemicals. I do several different presentations on this for cancer support community throughout the year, but it can't be stressed enough. Chances are your body care, your cleaning supplies, and items in your own home have these carcinogens and endocrine disruptors, and purging them from your environment can help. Now, I know it can seem overwhelming when you start that process, but I want to encourage you, because while we cannot control what is in the air and in the water and in the soil, we can control what's in our homes. So this gives you, and we're surrounded, a good percentage of our lives by what we surround ourselves in our homes. So I would encourage you to look into endocrine disruptors and carcinogens. EWG.org, Environmental Working Group. I hand out this resource quite a lot. Look at the cleaning supplies that are underneath your kitchen sink, in your garage. Check out your body care. They have databases for you to do that research. And if you wouldn't mind, Arlene, putting EWG.org in the chat for people, that would be amazing. Do the research and get rid of those things. I also highly encourage people, and I know that this is a difficult thing in the United States, but whenever you can, do not buy food or body care products that are packaged in plastic. they now know that we all have microplastics in our bodies, right? It's in the water, it's in the soil. We have poisoned ourselves with cheap packaging, and it toxifies your ingredients, especially if it's has any kind of lipid inside of it, like a lotion or a face serum packaged in plastic. It's not as good for you, right? And I would dare say that it is less beneficial than one packaged in glass or metal. And of course, it's better for the environment to buy those kinds of packaging as well. Next slide.
Before I move on to the next slide, Lily, there was a comment from Karen in the chat that she had a recommendation for lymph therapist in Delaware, and she had to go to Marion PT in the past.
Okay, so there's somebody in Delaware. That's great. And I would venture to guess that there are more practitioners, but they may be harder to find. It's when you're looking for something specific, sometimes it's just the hardest thing to find. But when I find practitioners, I sort of keep a little list. So I can always make recommendations. Like, I don't do body work myself, but I know lots of body workers. So yeah. So let's start with supplementation, and we'll talk about non-herbal supplements first, because there's lots of different ways to supplement your body. So vitamins and minerals. So food-based vitamins, first of all. So when you take a synthetic vitamin, your body doesn't necessarily recognize it as food. What you want vitamins and mineral supplements to do is your body to go, oh, I need this thing. This is food, whether it's, just one single vitamin or a multivitamin. But when they're not food-based and they're synthetic, a lot of times your body's just going to excrete it and not get the benefit of taking it. So really, you're just flushing money down the toilet. So buying vitamins that are food-based, and it will say that on the label because it is something people look for. But in particular, adding more A, C, and D will help you recover faster from cancer and its treatments. And then also supplementing with a little bit of magnesium. Magnesium, most people are deficient in it anyway. So supplementing your magnesium, and there are different types. There's threonate, citrate, sulfate, chloride. Like, there's a bunch of different types of magnesium. I tend, if I'm taking it internally, to do one that's like a combo. And one thing I will tell you is, oh yeah, it's right here on the screen. Woo! I thought of that in advance. That link at the bottom of the screen is a discounted dispensary for these supplements that can be super expensive. I do this as a public service for my clients and for the community. If you're looking for something in particular, whether it's a probiotic or a vitamin or whatever, go there and see if they have it. And you can also look, you can filter subjects out, like, oh, I need something that's gluten-free, or oh, I'm allergic to eggs. And it's really so much easier to use something like this than look at every little bottle on the shelf to try and figure out which one is best for you. You can say, okay, I need at least this many milligrams, and I'm looking for a vegetarian capsule or a liquid, and it just makes it so much easier. So that is available to you as a public service. Please use it if you wish. No obligation. But with vitamins and minerals, definitely get food-based ones. Fermented food is so important. Most cultures have like intrinsic parts of their diet that are fermented. If you think about different cultures, whether it's Japanese cultures with natto, or Korean with kimchi, or European style with different kinds of sauerkraut, kombucha, and yogurt, and kefir. All of these things are fermented, and there are amazing books to teach you how to ferment your vegetables. It makes the nutrition more bioavailable to you. It adds all of those beneficial bacteria and yeasts that you need in your gut all the time. It's just healthier. So one of the things I did before I grew food is I would go to the Amish auctions and I would buy big amounts of things, and then I would ferment it and keep it in jars in the fridge and use that as my vegetables rather than just eating fresh vegetables. Mixing it up that way is so much healthier, and you can preserve it for a while in the fridge. And nutraceuticals, so things that offer high nutrient value for the type of food that it is. So fish or flax oils, adding those extra omegas in your body is super important. Probiotics, and then either bone or mushroom broth. And I can recommend different types of mushrooms. All mushrooms, except for those button ones that are ubiquitous in the supermarket, contain polysaccharides, which actually are really beneficial at fighting tumors, are used medicinally all over the world in cancer treatments. And in Columbus, there is a really fabulous immigrant supermarket on Morse Road. Actually, I think there's another one too. There's 2 locations, but I usually go to the one on Morse Road, called Saraga, Saraga. Saraga. And in their produce section, they have an entire refrigerator display case just of different kinds of mushrooms. And you can get them fresh. So, and then they also have even more in some of the aisles dried. So going to Saraga and making like a mushroom broth, you can do it in a crock pot, you can do it in an Instant Pot, or you can, boil it for a long time covered on the stove. It's delicious, first of all, very umami and rich, but it also provides so many nutraceuticals that are hard to get other places. And bone broth is the same. Bone broth is going to increase the mineral content in your body. You literally simmer those bones until they dissolve. I've done it in a crock pot, and it's very rich. Like I can only have a little bit. I usually take the bone broth after I make it and I freeze it, and I put a cup of bone broth in any soup, stew, or chili that I'm making because it's so rich. Like, oh my goodness. But yeah, you can add it to your cooking. You can add it to mashed potatoes. You can add it to soups that you're making. It's very helpful. Next slide. Okay, now we get into my realm of expertise, herbs. So the first word in each of these lines is the action that the herb has in your body. So for example, an immunomodulator, fancy word for, first of all, it works on the immune system. And second of all, it modulates response. So we all know that there are immunosuppressants. People with autoimmune disease, if they go the Western treatment route, they take immunosuppressants, which suppress the immune system and its functioning because your body is attacking itself, right? And we're trying to shut down that response. An immunostimulant, something that like echinacea, that people take when they get sick, it's an immunostimulator, and there's different ways that your immune system can be stimulated. It could make more T cells, or it could engage them more. There's different ways that you could stimulate your immune system. But an immunomodulator is safe for people to take regardless of whether they have an autoimmune disease or cancer. It helps the immune system make better decisions. Reishi mushroom is always appropriate when you are talking about recovery from cancer or cancer treatment. Reishi is called the mushroom of immortality in Chinese medicine. And I give it to folks that don't have a chronic illness, and they also feel its effects and feel better. It's also an adaptogen, meaning that it is safe and it works on the endocrine system as well, particularly in adrenal response, the stress response. So it is just a great mushroom. Shiitake is also a fantastic mushroom for cancer survivors. And depending on what type of cancer you have or had, other mushrooms are appropriate too. There is a really amazing TED Talk that you can watch on YouTube with Paul Stamets. who is the world's preeminent mycologist. And he helped his mother recover from stage 4 breast cancer using turkey tail mushrooms. And she comes up on stage. She's lovely. And I highly recommend watching his video about the medicinal use of mushrooms. It's a TED Talk. Mistletoe. Mistletoe is also an immunomodulator. However, it is very possible to use too much. None of these herbs should be used just willy-nilly. I highly recommend seeing a practitioner. There are a few of us in the area that can help you get through a process. Mistletoe is one of those that you really need to be careful about, but it is something that I have used for folks recovering from cancer. So I thought I'd mention it here. Anti-inflammatories, we're probably all familiar with what that action means because people pop anti-inflammatories all the time, NSAIDs. But in the plant world, turmeric is a fantastic anti-inflammatory mixed with black pepper. So if you're taking turmeric as a supplement because you've heard of this, make sure it's mixed with black pepper. Or if you're taking sort of the stripped down constituents of curcumin, which is one of the anti-inflammatory constituents in turmeric, make sure that it's mixed with piperine, which is the constituent in black pepper that makes it more bioavailable. Another one that I didn't mention here is stinging nettle as an anti-inflammatory, and that's one of my favorites. It goes great in any tea. You can take it as a tincture. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of capsules, by the way. When I'm recommending taking herbs, I'm not necessarily recommending taking dried herbs in capsules. You never know how old that is, and it's been powdered, so like it starts to oxidize, all the cell walls degrade. I prefer liquid extracts like tinctures to get the most potent herbal supplements. Anti-angiogenesis. Coriolis is a fantastic herb that helps prevent tumors, right? Antioxidants, we all know oxidization degrades cells. So milk thistle and turmeric, helping with the nausea that comes with cancer treatment and recovering from an illness. Nausea is real, right? So I posted 3 different here. There are many more anti-nausea ones. But these are 3 very different flavors. So if you don't like mint, I'm not a big mint fan, but I do like ginger and I'll drink chamomile. So like there's something out there for you to help with your nausea. For stress, nervine sedation, so nervous system suppressing like valerian or passion flower are super helpful, but so are adaptogens like tulsi, helping to moderate that stress response. And reishi, I mentioned before, is also an adaptogen. Lymphatic cleansing herbs. So in combination with lymphatic massage or dry brushing, cleavers, which is also known as lady's bed straw, you should either take it fresh or make sure that the extract that you have of it has been extracted while fresh. When it's dried, a lot of those phytochemicals that you're looking for sort of evaporate with the moisture. So when you are taking a cleaver supplement, definitely do not take a dried capsule and find out if the company tinctured it fresh. Like the company that I work for, that I formulate for, we only get a whole lot of cleavers in the spring when they're available, and we tincture them all fresh, and we keep that tincture throughout the year to sell. And so it's this annual thing that we do to make sure that we get enough cleavers for the year. And poke. So poke root in particular is a lymphatic cleanser, but it also is one of those that can be hepatotoxic, hard on your liver if you take too much. So again, if you're doing this, you need to be working with a practitioner who's monitoring you and doing case management. I particularly like when I make a lymphatic massage oil that's going to be used, I will use poke root in it as well as cleavers, but I don't necessarily do an internal poke supplement when I'm treating someone. Nutritive. So these are highly nutritious herbs that you are going to get more out of than even conventional food. And I've mentioned 3 here. So stinging nettle, raspberry leaves, and catnip, particularly when they're growing wild. They have more vitamins and minerals and chlorophyll and nutritives in them than a lot of food that you're just going to buy in the supermarket. We have degraded our soil of nutrients so much that, like, when we look at online, like, what does an apple contain? Like, what vitamins and minerals does an apple contain? Like, it's not as much as when they first reported it back in the 1950s, and those charts that we've been using ever since. The amount of nutrition available in that apple has degraded over time as we have depleted the soil. And then blood building, and I put this in quotes because that's what we call it in herbalism, and in Chinese herbalism they also call it blood building. Herbs, things that help you to create more plasma, to strengthen red blood cells, to oxygenate those cells, all those. So ironweed, very aptly named, right, to help you with anemia. Tulsi is another one that's blood building, and they've been doing a lot of studies of that in India. It is an Ayurvedic herb, so it's commonly used in India, but they've realized that post chemo, it helps build the blood really well. And stinging nettles, again, one of my favorites. What have we got next? Yeah, so I want to reiterate who is on your team. So cancer is too big to kick alone. So I am glad that you are at a cancer support community class, because that means you know that this is a resource that you can use to connect with other people, to get resources, to learn how to navigate the world as a cancer survivor. But make sure that your doctor knows your intention of holistic integration, if this is a path that you want to consider, and work with practitioners who respect the practices of other practitioners. I work with all kinds of practitioners when I do case management. If you come up against obstacles like, no, I don't want you doing this, and I don't want to talk to this person, maybe get a second opinion, because the my way or the highway means that they're not listening to you either, right? Like, they're not willing to work with other people, and they think that they're right no matter what. And maybe they're not listening to you and what's going on in your body either. So regardless of who you decide to go as your primary and your secondary and your tertiary caregivers, make sure that they're all talking to each other, or at least you're taking reports to each one, so that they can see what pharmaceuticals you're on, what supplements you're taking, what kind of lifestyle changes are you making, because if they're going to make a recommendation, they need the whole picture in order to treat you properly. Next. Yeah, so resources that I definitely wanted to pass on to you. So obviously, cancer support community, we're all here. They do an amazing job. There are lots of things that you may not even know about. So if you haven't met with someone to learn about all the different things that they offer, in addition to classes, please, hook up with Darlene and get an appointment to figure that out. Haven Herbs is who I formulate for. It's a little herbal apothecary. We have all kinds of remedies and tonics and body care that are packaged in glass and metal and no plastic, that you can avail yourself of if you so desire. My website here is lilykunning.com. I teach classes, not just a cancer support community, but also other places. I also do clinical consultations and formulations for other people and other companies and things like that. And then I have an article here that I would love for you to check out, all about Vipassana meditation. I mentioned it when we were talking about mindfulness activities. I find this to be the best entryway into a sitting practice. I've met some hardcore Buddhists out there who, they're very intense about their sitting practice. Vipassana meditation is entry level, it is forgiving, and it is compassionate and kind. So I highly recommend trying that. All right, I have no idea what time it is because this is full screen and I want to make sure we get time for Q&A. So what time?
Yeah,
is
we
it?
have
Okay.
15 minutes left, Lily. And we did had a question going back to I misread Karen's comment. She's looking for a recommendation for a lymph therapist, not that she's had one. So I do apologize, Karen, that I misread your comment in the chat. So she's looking for, a lymph therapist.
That's okay. I do that all the time. ADHD.
I think the place that I would start. Okay, there we go. I think the place that I would start is there is a school for massage therapists in Columbus called the American Institute of Alternative Medicine, and they train massage therapists, and they all get rotations in the clinic, and they all get training on many types of massage. So you actually may get, first of all, discounted massage therapists by going to their student clinic, but also they're going to have a supervisor there showing them how to do it, and they can show you at the same time. So I would start there. There are several professional massage therapy associations that can also make, they usually have databases of local referrals. So I would Google, massage therapy professional association, lymphatic massage, and see what comes up, and then do a zip code search. Most of these organizations support their members that way. But yeah, those are the two places that I would start, and I can look in my my database to see what I have too.
Excellent. And then we have Kirsten had asked for more information on the TED Talk on mushrooms for breast cancer.
Yeah. So the name of the mycologist is Paul, P-A-U-L, Stamets, S-T-A-M-E-T-S. And he provides mushroom extracts to Bastyr University, which is really great at doing holistic health research. He has a couple companies himself, one called Fungi Perfecti and one called Host Defense, which makes standardized mushroom supplements. I really love them. I think they're some of the best on the market. And the TED Talk, if you just Google his name, TED Talk and cancer, it'll be the first thing to come up. And I think it's the most amazing thing, because his mother didn't tell him that she had cancer until she thought it was too late, and she was stage 4. And he just heroically went in there and, went in there with the doctors and showed them all of the research, and, got her on turkey tail supplements, high doses of turkey tail mushrooms, and she's still with us.
So in addition to checking out that TED Talk, working with a practitioner to make sure that the dosage and everything, if you choose to pursue that, would be a really important thing, correct?
Yes, absolutely. All of this stuff is, informational for you. It opens doors for you that maybe you didn't know existed. But definitely when you are talking about tinkering with a health plan, particularly if you are still being treated, you definitely want to work with a practitioner for sure.
Do we have any other questions for Lily? You're welcome to either unmute or put in the chat. Well, Lily, let me,
Yeah, she is brilliant. Those mushrooms have helped me since 2008. I've done a lot of that stuff. And I'm glad to know about this American Institute because the lymph therapy, I use a massager, and I've been able to do pretty good with that as it goes to various parts of my body, and I move it to someplace else. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Karen. And if you need more yeah, so after you've approached IM, you can, if they haven't been able to help you, just shoot me an email. You can go onto my website and fill out the contact form because you'll be getting my presentation that has my website on it. So you can just go fill out that contact form, tell me what you need, and I will look in my database for you if they cannot help you. But the nice thing about the clinic is that they are open, I believe, 7 days a week. So, and the students are constantly trying to get hours. So yeah, probably get in right away.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
so we had mentioned that Lily, in addition to her presentation, she also gave us some handouts. She had mentioned the ewg.org. And so this will be one of the handouts that we'll be sending everybody. And then she's also given us the dirt therapy, as well as sustainable healthy diets. So this is some fabulous information. So look forward to receiving that via email that we'll be sending out after this presentation.
For sure. And this is a very abbreviated talk from a wellness coaching class that I do. It's 6 months long, and every month we focus on one area of wellness. And each week I give assignments. So if you're interested in doing it much more in depth than these broad brush strokes, you can also go to my website and check that out. But this is a door opener, right? This is a way for you to know what exists out there so that you can pursue what you're interested in.
Absolutely. We have a couple more minutes. Anybody have any other questions for Lily? It looks like we don't. So I want to thank Lily for giving her presentation and again, volunteering her time and her expertise and her knowledge. It's always so fabulous. This is definitely one of my favorite classes. I always look forward to every month. So again, thank you so very much, Lily. We greatly appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love teaching at Cancer Support Community. It's definitely very affirming to me too.
Oh, I did. You had mentioned about, all the different programs out there. And I did want to remind people that in regards to music, we have a couple of different options. We have a jam session with our art therapist every month, the fourth Tuesday. It is not art therapy. It is just an opportunity to get together, play some music, learn about reading songs, writing lyrics. It's any musical expertise is available. You don't have to know anything about music to be able to participate, but she also offers, in addition to that, music therapy. And then Abby and Holly come in. They're going to be doing 3 different sessions this fall with music, mantra, and meditation. So Abby Dorn, our yoga therapist, and then her partner Holly in the I can't think of their name, but look for that for the music, mantra, and meditation. And then we do have a deep breathing program, 7:45 every Monday morning. Abby will do 15 minutes of deep breathing practices. Kevin, one of our licensed mental health professionals, does the mindfulness hour twice a month. The first and third Wednesday. And Melissa just messaged me and said that Holly and Abby are the Bhakti Mamas. That's their name. So look for those coming up. We offer Tai Chi every Friday at 1 o'clock. Qigongs every Thursday at 10:30. And then it's really not so much mindfulness cooking, but it is definitely cooking for wellness, which is 3 times a month on Thursday. So I wanted to give a plug for those programs through Cancer Support Community before we ended.
That's amazing. See, I told you, you guys are all in the right place.